Now. Hey, the
Okay.
internet, my name is the Nobody. I'm sorry I haven't made any videos in a while, but I was on holiday and then I had some still have some like a couple health issues. But I don't know, I got the energy to make a video now, and it's gonna be another interview as well, I'm sure you you read the title, and this time it's with Lady Bastard, right? That's what you want me to call you?
Yeah, that's what I call myself in these circles.
Yeah, that's an interesting name. Why Lady Bastard?
Funnily enough, it was because when I had a sort of gender ambiguous nickname, and I used to get in arguments with either feminists or anyone really in anything related to gender. I was always assumed to be a man, so I just got tired of explaining that no, actually, I'm not a man. Stop assuming things. So I just chose a female surname. What? Damn it. I mean, sorry, English is breaking down. Female
Yeah, that tends to happen a lot.
nickname. That's the word. Sorry.
That tends to happen a lot. You know, there are no women on the internet, that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And this one actually means a lot of different things. I like it on multiple levels, so I just chose that one.
Okay, cool. And you are what would you call yourself? An anti-feminist, an MRA, skeptic?
No, not skeptic, not MRA, and definitely a supporter of men's rights. Anti-feminist is correct, I suppose, as a label. Yes.
Yeah. It's just I mean the thing I like with labels. I mean like I I'm skeptical, but I wouldn't call myself a skeptic because of like the people within the skeptic community. I don't like care for it too much. I find it to be a bit well,
And
it's I it,
if I
it's
may interject,
yeah.
skepticism is something you do, not necessarily that you are. Can you imagine being skeptical in every possible aspect of your life? It would be quite overwhelming, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, no one can be skeptical all the time. It's just
So I
it's
don't like this label at all. It's
it's more.
also quite presumptuous.
Yeah, well, my thing with it is it's more like the people that tend to call themselves skeptics. They tend to be, I guess, like followers of the cult of equality. Uh, so
Ah,
I don't care for that stuff. And anti-feminist. The reason I don't really call myself an anti-feminist is, I'm very anti-feminist, a lot more than the average anti-feminist. It's just that also anti-feminists tend to be, it tends to basically just mean anti-third wave feminism, and
yeah.
that's it. So I'd rather
Yeah,
just
I
m-
am more than just anti third wave. I'm pretty much anti-feminist, as an anti-feminist of all feminism.
yeah. I mean, MGTOW just kind of fits me more. It just like
Hmm.
with I think like with the people in it, it kind of suits me more. I just really like it, so I just call myself MGTOW. And
It's
I think you actually said that you were also MGTOW, right?
it's a joke. It's a joke. I am not a victim. I am quite. I would suppose if I needed to put a label on myself, I am a traditionalist. Inflection of my voice that you could hear is because I'm not quite sure how how traditionalist. And I'm not sure that I would love to, come back to the caveman days or whatever. And I was actually entertaining this label thing quite recently. I was sort of um, came up with national libertarian, something similar. I'm not quite sure if it exists, but it would describe my views rather accurately, so long as we don't equate libertarian with anarcho-capitalist.
Yeah, it probably does exist actually. I'm also I'm libertarian, but I'm not a nationalist. I'm pretty close to ANCAP, but I still believe in a government like for the army and for
I
I don't know,
see.
like people keep bringing
Yeah.
up the roads. So if roads can't be privatized, they probably can't. Then sure, pay tax for
Yeah.
that. But I know we'll get to that soon. I'll start off on the topics. So real quick, I guess we already know your opinion of feminism, but what do you think of feminism?
What do I think about it? Sorry, I was a bit distracted. It's cancer. That's basically the typical thing to say about it, and it is true.
Okay,
Um,
I mean it's easy. It's kind of easy to see why you'd say that about third wave, but why would you say that about first and second wave?
because it sowed all the seeds necessary for the third wave. I mean, it was a natural progression.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Anything in particular?
Well, first of all, it was what I vehemently disagree with the second wave laws that they advocated for because, well, as someone who believes in liberty, I believe in your right to discriminate.
Yeah, I would
Not by
agree with
government
that.
institutions, but certainly for private companies, for anybody, you absolutely should have a right to not hire me for being a woman or for, I don't know, someone for being black or whatever. That is an absolute infringement of your rights that you cannot do that and you can be sued.
I would agree. I mean, if that person that you're not hiring because of their sex or color ends up being good for the company, it's the company's loss. You're gonna end up
And why would
losing
you
money.
want to and why would you want to work for such a person anyway?
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And also another thing, they like some of the laws were like the Duluth domestic abuse model or the tender years doctrine, or I'm sure
Ah.
you've heard of those things, right?
The Tinder, yes, certainly the one you've mentioned before that I have not heard of.
Yeah, well, the tender years, as far as I know, it's basically just
Yeah, that one I know.
it's one of the things that that helps women win custody most of the time, and it basically, as far as I remember, basically says that like especially at a really young age, women pretty much kind of have to win custody of the kids.
Mm. I mean, I guess so far as breastfeeding goes,
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh,
But other,
shit. Yeah, no, definitely. While they're babies, I mean, while they're still breastfeeding, that's kind of a no-brainer. But I'd say after that, it's a bit ridiculous.
yeah, possibly because there are shitty mothers and good fathers, so it really should be all determined on an individual
Yeah,
basis.
yeah, on
Case by case.
exactly on a case-by-case basis. And anyway, so I guess we kind of covered pretty much the the most important things of second wave, unless I don't know, I probably forgot something. But let's move on to first wave. Now, first wave, I mean, I made a video on it, and there was like four main things. One was the what's it called? The bachelor tax. I can't
Uh-huh.
I can't imagine you agree with that.
I do not. I actually did not know that about the first wave. I think the other three you mean, I think I know. Probably you mean the white feather movement,
Yep.
the obviously suffrage,
Mhm.
and what was the other one? The
Prohibition.
prohibition. Yeah,
Yeah.
cancer.
Yep. So all of those things I kind of I mentioned, but also they also tried to have a bachelor tax.
Yeah, that one I did not hear about. Did they manage to?
No, they did not.
Well,
Actually, an
thank goodness, I
interesting
guess.
thing they tried to have. I mean, you probably actually know this, but they tried to have a bachelor tax in Rome, and it did work.
Yeah, that one I have heard about. Yeah.
I mean, it didn't like achieve the results they
work,
wanted.
but yeah.
Yeah, they just got a bachelor tax.
Yes.
Yeah, but just getting more tax that does not tend to work.
Mm-hmm.
I just triggered every socialist fan I have. So like two people maybe.
Uh, I see.
Okay, so I mean, it's pretty easy to say why the white feather movement, prohibition, and the bachelor tax is cancer. But what about suffrage? What about giving women the right to vote? Are you in favor or against?
Uh, I guess the simplest explanation would be is that if women did not vote, the people I would want in power get in power. And then it would achieve the society I think would work best. Women voting leads to socialism, and socialism leads to the decay of society. So that is quite simple. Now, that is not to say that no women should be allowed to vote, because as a Western sort of supremacist, I could even call myself, I do believe in universalism. However, the women, they did not earn the right to vote, and that is basically what I believe. That
Did you say earn?
actually, yes, they did
Oh,
not
okay.
earn it, and actually, a whole bunch of men didn't either. I
True.
think that a lot, really, way fewer people should be eligible to vote, because they simply do not have enough responsibility to have so much power.
Yeah, most people did not earn the right to vote. Now, the way I would say you have to earn the right to vote is by signing up for the draft. You get to vote for the president because the president has the power to declare war, and by paying taxes, you get to vote for Congress because they're kind of more in charge of the tax. But in your country that might be different. So just kind of swap it around to whoever's in charge of the tax. You get to vote for them by paying net tax. You get the point. Is that something? Is that what you would consider earning the vote, or would you have a different view on it?
Yeah, I do not know actually. I've entertained the idea many times, and I have not come to a very satisfying conclusion. I suppose if the tax was voluntary, then that would make a lot of sense. And since you only say that people who should elect the president should be allowed to vote for the president, then that of obvious. Wait, oh my God, I am really breaking. I lost my train of thought. That the people who are eligible for draft should be able to vote for president, right?
Yeah.
So that would exclude women, because I'm vehemently against women in the military. But since they would be able to vote for, legislative power, that would be quite satisfiable. Quite satisfying. I mean, actually, I don't know. Maybe there would be better parameters for this right, but I have to really. I do have trouble figuring them out. Basically, what I think should be is that we should determine what makes people invested in the future of any country, any society, then set a standard, and based on that standard, they should get the vote. And it would be universal. Obviously, more men would vote.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what tends to happen. I mean, especially in that would be quite a meritocratic system, and men just tend if you have a meritocracy, men are probably you're gonna go back to traditionalism. It's not going to be forced or anything, but in a meritocracy, in a very libertarian society, you're going to go back to traditionalism voluntarily. Basically, the men are going to end up working, and the women are going to end up having the kids again. That's probably that's not 100%, but I'd say.
I wouldn't want to force it on people who do not wish for that.
Oh, definitely not. But I'd say in at least 95% of, I guess, of cases, you're probably going to have that situation where It's basically, you know, men are men, women are women again, that type of stuff.
Yes, because finally we would stop denying biology.
Exactly. That's so another thing I'm not too keen on with, I guess, anti-feminist skeptics, whatever you want to call them. And you know, in case I've got any anti-feminist skeptic fans, I don't want to make it, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on on you guys. You know, I learned a lot from you. I'm just like pointing out a few things here and there that I'm not too keen on. But one of the things is that I keep hearing false IQ studies from like skeptics and anti-feminists, and this is kind of what I'm talking about with the cult of equality. It's that they deliberately show misleading IQ studies just so male and female IQ ends up being equal.
Well,
I'm sure you saw
I
it.
have not seen that. I
It
mean, all I know is about the bell curve.
Yeah. Okay, so it's I might as well explain it now. I'll send you. You know, actually, I'll leave the link in the description of the video well, I'm sure most people here know him. TFM. He basically debunks it. He shows how wrong it is, but that actually the real IQ difference is probably almost 10%, not 10, 10 points on average for men. Like they have almost like 10 more IQ points on average. But the reason that it ended up being equal was because they ended up measuring the IQ when at the ages of 11 to 13, when girls went through puberty and boys didn't, and then they had a pretty big advantage. But when they measured when they measured the IQ again at the ages of 17, when both boys and girls went through puberty, the IQ difference was around like 7 on average.
Interesting.
So that's like one of the things. I mean, like just kind of like deliberately pushing false statistics just to kind of keep up the idea of equality. But even back when I called myself an egalitarian, I never believed in equality. I never like really. I can never get my head around it. What?
You mean the outcome? The equality of outcome, as opposed to opportunity.
No. I'm not talking about like outcome or opportunity. I mean more that people are equal. I never believed that.
No, that is self-evident.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're not even equal to what you were yesterday. So no one's equal. Okay. Anyway, the next topic. Marriage. What do you think of marriage today?
Too much divorce.
But so this kind of leads into MGTOW a bit, which will be the next topic. But what do you think it's worth? Do you think it's worth it for a guy to get married?
I mean, if he finds the right person, if he knows what to look for.
But what about the horrible laws?
It would not matter if he found someone who he could trust.
Okay, but the problem with that is how do you know? Like you don't know that person is going to change in the future. You don't you can never you know.
No one will change so drastically. Look, no, the people, all the signs are always there. You can look for them. You can determine it.
Okay, well, what about people that change, like 10 years from now, 20 years from now? People do change.
They do change, but not to an extent that you couldn't have seen it coming.
Well, I mean, with that, I would have to disagree. I guess it's more matter of opinion, but
in a personal, I guess, experience. But in my experience, they do not change, not to an extreme extent.
Well,
No,
I mean,
they do not.
to be fair, have you been with someone for 10, 20 years?
Well, obviously not.
I mean, what? How old are you? 23, right? So I doubt
Damn
you've
it.
been with
Doxed,
anyone
fucking doxed.
that. Oh well, no. I mean, you said the 8.
No, it's okay. It's a running joke. No, never mind.
I mean, I guess I could edit it out if you want me to.
I don't know. If you're gonna edit all my stutterings, then sure, edit that
No,
out too.
I'm not. I don't. When I do interviews, I don't edit anything. I just let
Oh,
it go.
damn it! Now I'm gonna sound so retarded.
Don't worry about it.
I look forward to the comment section.
No, they're nice. They're mostly nice.
Surprising.
No, I'm not that surprised. Anyway, so but what do you think about MGTOW and men that refuse to get married?
It's their personal choice.
Hmm. Do you
I think
see? But I don't know. Would you see a reason that they do it?
I understand why they do it. I just do not agree with this defeatist approach. Because
Hmm.
if, say, you think you've got the right of the situation, you believe that you are right, and you are deliberately cutting yourself out of the gene pool, then what do you think is going to happen? The society is further going to go downhill.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I mean, just look at the divorce rate, right? I mean, it's already really high. So you pretty much got like a 1 in 2 chance of getting divorced, and that's not even mentioning cheaper to keeper marriages, or just unhappy marriages.
Yeah.
So how many happy marriages are there like actually out there? I mean, I don't really see a point in getting married and then having your kids taken away from you. There, even okay. So let's say you continue the gene pool, but now your kids are growing up with a single mother. How good are they going to turn out?
Well, yes, that's why you should not get married just to anybody, obviously.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, it's pretty much a 50-50 chance. And again, I guess people aren't statistics, but
No, if
every
you take all women, then sure, and pick any woman you want, then maybe you have 50-50 chance of getting a divorce. But if you find the right one, then you very likely do not.
yeah, but every guy thought he found the right one, right? I mean, every guy that got married didn't just get married like, oh, this, I don't
Well,
know,
actually,
random
I'm pretty
woman.
sure it happens quite a lot. Quite a lot of time people just do it out of convenience, out of basically, so we're dating, so I guess I'll just we'll just marry. It's time. There's a lot of pressure about it after all, and
Yeah, I
sometimes
guess.
they make an unwanted baby, and then they do get married for that baby, and
I
then get screwed.
I guess. I mean, I'm sure they do, but I still don't think it's enough for it to be like a 50% divorce rate. I'd say maybe 10%, not 50. That would not. I don't
Yeah,
think it
well,
would explain.
I guess it's the laws of the no-fault divorce as well, and
Yeah.
of the whole shifting in culture. And that is actually why, even as an atheist, I am quite fond of Christianity, of religion, because, well, if you fall into hard times and you're not happy together, you are still supposed to work through those difficulties and stay together in the marriage. And that is basically the religion telling people that they should do that. That's why I'm quite fond of it.
Yeah, but
Because right now there's no even stigma to divorce anymore.
yeah, true. But another one of my things with marriage is that you're not actually benefiting from it. You're not. I mean, you can be with someone without getting married. You're not actually gaining anything from it. But you instead all you're doing is you're just losing. All you're doing is just signing a bunch of your rights away. So what's even the
Well,
point if
if the marriage is successful, you do win. You
yeah
do have a happy family, isn't
yeah,
it?
but you can have a happy family
Yeah.
without getting married.
Hmm. I wonder. I wonder. I've actually come in. If I should have probably prepared for this better. I have. I think it was on Stefan Molyneux's channel, but I'm not sure. I've heard of this statistic that the people who actually cohabit together are more likely to split up than people who get married, because not getting married is like. You give yourself a way out, basically, to opt out of it.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
mean,
not as committed.
I'd have to agree with that, but I think that's because they didn't have the like the marriage mindset. They never planned on getting married in the first place. It's they were probably just like boyfriend and girlfriend. They were just like going out, living together. Because it wouldn't be I'm assuming that study didn't include like like couples that basically agreed to live with each other for like a really long time, like what Bearing is doing with Sugar Tits. I'm assuming that study included every couple, like couples that lived together for a month, couples that lived that that broke up after a year, that stuff. Couples that never really intended on getting married, couples that weren't like actually in it for the long haul.
Yeah, I really should have prepared for this. I would have been able to tell you, but you're
No
maybe
problem.
correct.
It's not a debate or anything.
Yeah,
So
possibly you're
just
right. I
like
could be wrong.
final thoughts on MGTOW.
Mm, I am. Look, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I just think that you're wrong. And okay, there are two types of MGTOW. There are those who have legitimate grievances, or are activists and do you see these laws that we want to change. So I do believe in them. But then there are just very bitter people who really are just looking for something to blame other than themselves for their life choices.
Okay.
I think so anyway.
And what do you think of Nawalt? Have you heard of that term?
I've heard it. I don't exactly understand it, but I have definitely run into those people, I think.
What were you like watching like a MGTOW video, and then someone just said Nawalt?
Uh, uh, no, actually, I was arguing with one person in somewhere on the internet. I don't remember where, and this other dude I know came with a pretty good joke, something about the McTown vault, and that's how I knew about it. I still don't quite understand it.
I just saw it a lot in comment sections, and I thought it's pretty funny. But Nawalt, it basically stands for not all women are like that, and it's now kind of I mean, I think it started out as something a bit more serious, but now it seems to kind of be turned into a joke or an insult whenever whenever a woman comes along and says I'm not like that, or like hashtag not all women. So
Yeah.
what
Oh,
what would you think of that when they say not all women?
well, I mean, to an extent it is true that not all, but we have to look at the trends. And depending on what those trends are, it's either most or not most.
Yeah, I always have I've been having trouble with Nawalt. Right now I don't really believe in Nawalt, but it is a bit tough to explain. But I mean, damn, this would be kind of hard. We'll continue. Maybe I'll think of like a better way to explain it. It's a bit tough to kind of explain Nawalt properly. I'll probably have to like do a bit more research on it, watch a video on it or two. But anyway, you already said you're a libertarian, right?
Something like that. I mean, I do have some authoritarian tendencies. As I've said, I'm a nationalist, even an ethno-nationalist to an extent. Not alt-right. Just I do believe in societies that consist of people of similar roots tend to be more successful.
Yeah, that does seem to be true.
And stable. So
That
to that
does.
extent, yeah.
I mean, I'm also a libertarian, but I'm not a nationalist. My thing is, like, right now you should definitely not have open borders because of the welfare state. But once you don't have a welfare state, I wouldn't say open borders, but definitely not like don't make it that hard to get into a country.
I don't know. I'm thinking about cultural subversion and stuff like that. How would you prevent that? How would you prevent, I don't know, say, people of a particular ideology that commands them to spread from coming into your societies?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Let's just give an example with communists, right? They come into the country and they're socialists or whatever, unless they pay net tax, right? Like they can't vote anyway, unless they.
So what? They're still going to preach their resentment.
I mean, do you think they're gonna
If they
change?
get, if they, how do we have all these people? How do we have all these problems? Because of their education. Because
True,
it all
true.
how did we get all these fucking moronic young people screaming for communism and socialism while taking selfies with their iPhones? How else, if not by pure brainwashing from when they were little?
True, but I still really don't like restricting things. I guess it's kind of like more of a matter of opinion. I'm just really not into restricting things. That's just
I
my thing.
suppose if there's no welfare state, perhaps it would not be so, common, this immigration problem. However, if the society is richer anyway, it's going to trickle down. So there is still going to be more immigration, and we are still going to have the same problems with multiculturalism. These misunderstandings between people, this lack of social trust, and stuff like that.
True. I mean, if a society is rich, even if there's no welfare state, people are probably going to try to come in. But I
Yes.
just kind of like to lean toward ANCAP a bit, so I don't like I try to be as libertarian as possible. Like
Yeah,
I try to not be
yeah, I do
authoritarian.
think that and then an ideology pushed too far to its extreme might end up not working as intended.
Yeah, I mean, it might. I'm kind of disappointed that I haven't seen any libertarian countries that I know of yet. So I've yet to see if they work or fail.
Well, perhaps that's your answer. Maybe if they did work, there would have been some.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Another thing is, as far I mean, countries like America, for example, they tend to start out libertarian, at least in terms of the economy,
Hmm.
but it's kind of like their own success destroys them. I mean, you've seen like I guess that meme, right? Like
Yes.
hard
Yes.
times create strong men create good times create weak men create bad times. You get the point, right? So libertarian societies create wealth, or like capitalism creates wealth. People become, then it makes people weak, lazy. Then they become socialist, and then it destroys the countries.
Yes.
Kind of
Exactly.
like what's going on with America right now.
It does.
Because
It
it
does sound just
obviously
like that.
it used to be a lot, definitely at least before first wave feminism, as far as I know, it used to be a lot more capitalist.
Hmm.
Now it's not exactly capitalist. I don't know what to call it, but I mean it's like 50% tax rate. I don't that's not capitalism.
It is not. It is not.
It's I don't know. It's weird. Well, and another thing, tax is theft. Yes or no?
It's extortion.
Okay, let's just. I'm just gonna say it's theft. I mean,
I'm gonna say
I'd
it's
still have
extortion.
I'd still have tax for the army and I guess for
Yes, I
roads.
do not believe in private armies. Those are called mercenaries. I do not believe in private police force. This is called mafia. Even with firefighting services, we do have some examples from ancient Rome where they were like mafia. So some things they do need to be state organized. Oh, and prisons. I am vehemently against private prisons.
Oh yeah, definitely. State prisons and courts, that stuff you kind of need. But
Yes.
and as much as I still think all tax is theft. No exception. But I would still have tax for certain things because certain things just
Yes.
need tax, like the army. What one
Oh,
of the things that always gets me though is it's like when I say like you can privatize police, and then someone says, well, what if they become corrupt? I'm like, but they're already corrupt, so like clearly having them owned by the state isn't stopping them from being corrupt. So
but
like, what's the difference?
technically, they're at least answerable to the public. Who are they going to be answerable once they do not have those restrictions put on them?
Well, actually, I would say it's like the other way around because if now the public is funding them directly, then they actually um no they can actually be held accountable now
And
because
what
the public
prevents
can
them
just
from and
stop
what
funding
prevents them
them.
from becoming like mafia?
Oh well, that would be the army because I
And
as,
what
you know I
prevents the
no
army? But
the
you're
army
still
the army
yeah.
isn't private though, the army's state.
Yeah. Okay. I still I do not believe in private police. Yeah. But actually, if going back to our first, I don't remember exactly which subject, which order we covered it. But if we would have a system where you get your vote based on the taxes you pay, and if those taxes would be voluntary, well, then the problem would go away of it being tax theft, right?
True. Like it wouldn't. I mean, if tax is voluntary, then it's definitely not theft.
It probably would have to find another word for it. It's not exactly a tax, is it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, once tax stops being theft, you can't really call it tax anymore. So anyway, we already went over equality, right? I mean, I said I don't believe in it. You don't seem to believe in it either. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's self-evident. People are not equal.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
dumb.
to even make them try to make them equal is one of the most communist things I've ever heard.
Yeah, there's actually. I'm gonna look it up real quick. But there's
Yuri Bezmenov?
Oh no, I've got it on my phone right here. Oh, it's a really good one of my favorite sayings.
Sayings.
One,
You should.
where is
Yeah.
it? Here it is. The worst form of inequality is to try to make unequal things equal. Aristotle.
Yes, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so Aristotle said that. I really like that one. That's pretty cool. So
It is.
I guess that's what now my favorite one of my favorite ways of debunking equality. Just like if I don't have the
It's
energy.
just a quote. It's just a quote. It's not exactly an argument.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't have the energy to like start showing IQ statistics and that stuff, I'll just give them that. That'll be.
I mean,
a lot
just
easier.
show them a picture of person with legs and without legs, and
I guess. Anyway, next topic: the gender empathy gap. Have you heard of it?
I have. It exists.
You believe in the gender empathy gap?
It makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint, doesn't it? If most women perish, it's much harder. Damn it! It is much harder to
Reproduce.
yes. Whereas, yeah.
Yeah. So have you heard of that? Like the tribe's thought experiment, where you have like where you have one tribe where a lot of women die and then you can't really reproduce, and then one tribe where a lot of men die but you can still reproduce at the same rate. Yeah, that's kind of what you're going off of.
That's what I meant, but I have not heard of a study.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I've if I can link any of these studies, I haven't actually heard them. I mean, I don't have them myself. I just like heard them on a couple MGTOW videos. I think TFM. I mean, You know, you might eventually find them there. But I heard of one study where he says that the more male babies tend to die,
Hmm.
and one of the reasons could be just like neglect,
Oh wow.
like the parents caring, you know, more for the female babies. I think now this, because I watched this video like months ago, so right, I'm this is just like off the top of my head. This is just memory, but I think he talked about another study that he saw that parents were more quick to help a female baby out than a male baby.
Hmm.
Like they showed more empathy toward a female baby than a male baby. But again,
Wow.
I
No,
can't.
that is actually quite surprising. I mean, babies are babies.
Yeah, I know, I
It's
know.
very surprising.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I saw this forever ago. I can't remember. This is just like I'm trying to remember. So don't, you know, don't quote me on this. Don't take
Yeah, I
it
mean, it's
seriously
hard.
or
It's a bit
anything.
hard to believe, but then again, people are fucked up. So I do not know, because babies, you can't even tell them apart unless you see them naked. It's
Yeah, I get it, but I mean,
it's
you
very
know, the
odd.
parents the parents would would obviously know
Yes,
the
I
gender.
understand that. They would presumably know the gender of their child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So I
it's
mean, yeah, I guess
interesting.
we covered the gender empathy gap. It's not something you can
No,
really
it's not
properly fix,
suitable.
I guess.
You can be aware of it, and I suppose when 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 it touches you personally, I think it can be somewhat reduced
Yeah, yeah,
because
definitely.
yeah,
But I
and I think if you wanna quote unquote raise awareness or whatever, you should use rhetoric that would touch everyone personally. Like if you want to make this the case for women, you should talk about their sons or whatever,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
that's true. I mean, that's something I've noticed with a lot of female MRAs. They tend to be MRAs because of their sons, which actually you just reminded me of, like, I guess
Hmm.
another thing I could have spoken about. But do you think women care about men's issues?
Hmm. It really depends. I cannot say. Whatever I would tell you, it would only be indicative of my social bubble that I live in.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So, I mean, not to the extent that they should, perhaps, but if you sat them down and talked to them, I think I could get them to admit that there are problems.
I mean, have you like brought up anything to maybe a couple of your female friends, and like did they, like, how did they react? Anything like that?
I mean, they certainly did not get triggered. That's for sure. Like, I am thinking about it right now. Sure, yeah, they do have some misandrist views for certain, and there are too many, you know, abusive behaviors that are tolerated towards men, and you have to point it out, and you have to say, what if it was a woman that it was? What if the gender roles were reversed? To make them realize that something is wrong, but eventually I think they do come around.
Mm,
At least maybe that's just my social bubble. I cannot say for certain.
and how did they react when like did you say that to them? Like, what if the genders were reversed?
Well, yeah, that made them think.
Okay, so it did get something out of them.
Yes, yes. Well, certainly, even if I could perhaps think that maybe they are not as convinced as they pretend to be, at least they can't argue.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at least pretending is I don't know, it's better than nothing.
Mm.
I mean, my opinion in general is that women don't care, but like I can't exactly prove it in any in any way. This is more just, again, it's like based off of it's just based off stuff I saw. I mean, like there is no study that just asked women, do you care, do you not care? So and
No,
even then
obviously,
you
if it
can
was
lie.
asked like firm like that, everyone would say yes, I care.
Yeah, well, except for feminists. Man, even no, they actually probably
Ah,
they
you're
probably
so
say they care.
hurt by your toxic masculinity. If only you weren't.
Actually, they'd probably be the ones to say they care the most, because you know how
Yeah.
feminists keep saying like they care about men's issues and all that.
Yes, yes,
Nah,
and
it's
then they bring
bullshit.
up how it's your fault.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like this is just my opinion. I don't think they care, but that's it's just
Like
an opinion.
all women, you think? Or not like all women, but you mean it's hard to ask the question the way I mean it.
Like the
As a
vast
generality, to an
yeah,
extent.
like I'd say the vast majority.
About men's issues or about men in their lives? About what?
I'm well, I mean, I'm assuming they care about their fathers and brothers and that stuff, but I'm talking more about men's issues. But I actually,
It's hard to say, really. It's hard to say.
well, I actually think that most women are feminists, even if they don't admit it. Like most, like again, a pretty big majority. I mean, especially when if you look at first and second wave feminism, I'm sure that almost any woman would say that she agreed with with first and second wave. So by that logic, pretty much almost all women are. But I'm also kind of talking about third wave or kind of something in between, because if they weren't, like, how would these laws keep getting passed? Since women are the majority voters, since women are the majority voters, you'd kind of need
Well, the
most
question
women.
is, the question is, do the politicians even, uh, campaign for these things? Do they, or do they just pass the laws as they please?
I mean, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. All I know is that the politicians pretty much pander to women to get their vote, and like a great example would be Trump, kind of like trying to justify himself, like basically having to say, no one respects women more than me. So like he clearly, I don't remember
Meme
him.
material.
I don't remember him saying that about men. So he's clearly pandering to women to get their
That's the
vote.
whole identity politics poison that has seeped into your society.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's in your society as well.
Maybe. Yeah, for not to the extent that it is in the West, but yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, I'm in Israel, so that's not really the West.
Yeah.
Is it? Is it? I
It
mean,
was a general your.
it's it's a first world country. It's just in the Middle East, so I don't know what to call it. Whatever.
Yeah.
You get the point. But
I do.
I mean, my thing is that, yeah, I think most women are feminists because these laws keep getting passed, and another quite interesting thing is that even among the conservatives, there seem to be a lot of, I guess, a little tough to explain, but kind of modern traditionalists that I'd classify as something in between third and second wave feminists. And I mean, one example of this would be that the conservatives in I can't remember some state in America. They're trying to expand family court,
Oh my god.
and I mean this isn't even from the feminists. This is from the conservatives. So
Yeah.
it seems to be you know what gynocentrism means?
Mm, I don't think I could define it, but I do know. I do
Okay.
know it.
So yeah, so you know the gynocentrism is easy to see on both sides of the political
I
spectrum.
suppose.
Because
Um,
I mean,
yeah, I think that society in general has. Can you, by the way, do something? I can hear myself from your speakers.
oh,
Um,
you can, oh shit, damn it, I don't know how
sorry,
to.
I can hear myself.
I'm using a new recording software now, so I'm not sure how to
Uh,
fix it.
yeah, I think it's very cowardly that the society in general has become very afraid to hurt women's feelings,
True,
and
true.
that is what it comes down to. I think
Yeah,
in a lot
I
of
mean,
cases.
I would have to agree with that, but I still feel like it's very, very gynocentric.
Well, I mean, gynocentrism makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. You can't really get rid of it, and I tend to. I really liked Dr. Random McCamp's video when he talked about it. What basically he says what it boils down to is that gynocentrism means that women are more safe, whereas patriarchy that men are more free. From the point of view of its criticism.
Yeah,
But together, it does create the best working, most stable societies. So, what can you do?
well, I mean, it would
And
also
you
kind
cannot
of
fight
depend.
biology.
It would kind of depend though how you define gynocentrism, because if like what would your definition of gynocentrism be? Because my definition would be more like pandering to the needs and the want and like demands of women, while it seems like your definition is a bit more like protecting women,
Mm,
because that's not necessarily gynocentrism though, because like men also protect their property, but they're not, I don't know, like house centric or whatever.
we're getting to Islam, I see. No, let me think about it. I don't think I can think about it quickly on the spot. Um,
I mean, like let's say a man is married, right? There's a couple, and this is I don't know. This isn't like the ideal meritocratic society, and I don't know, the woman is like threatened in some way, that there's a threat, and the man tries to protect her. Would you call that gynocentrism?
What's called as sensible behavior? No, actually, meanwhile, when you were talking, I was thinking, and I think my personal definition would be gynocentrism, meaning that women are given resources, whereas patriarchy, meaning that men do have more freedom. I would still choose that one. They have more freedom, but women get the resources. Yes.
So, but if let's say the women get the resources for, like, they're pregnant, and they're like, they stay at home, they cook and clean, they get, they make the meals, I don't know what to say, they're good women, quote unquote, right? So in that scenario, the man is also getting something in return, so that's not necessarily gynocentric.
But it's where it stems from. The whole concept stems from the idea that women cannot work as much as men because they're having babies.
True. I mean, I'd have to argue that there would always be some gynocentrism here and there, but a lot of it would depend on just the way you define it. It would just depend on like your definition of gynocentrism, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's why I guess that's why I said I could not define it exactly. Right?
Yeah,
I
I
kind
mean,
of know
um,
what it means in these circles, but then to what extent do we call it gynocentrism? Because I say, when you look at it, when you look at its roots, it's about women getting resources for the babies, which is how our species thrives. So
True. I mean, I don't know how to. I know what it is, but I can't define it exactly. It's a bit tough to like define exactly. Everyone would have a slightly
and
different
and
definition.
I suppose the problem with modern gynocentrism is that the resources are redistributed from men to the women, from unwilling men to women. So it's still kind of the same thing, but
Yeah.
On an entirely involuntary level.
Yeah. I mean, I
No, I
really don't like
suppose more.
involuntary
I
things. I don't
suppose,
like that.
yeah, more things come down to it, like feminism and the whole court and legal things, I suppose. But if you look at the basis for it, it's resources, isn't it?
Yeah. It would definitely be about women. They definitely can't take care of themselves while they're pregnant, at least. So it would be about just making sure they can take care of themselves and the kid while they're pregnant. So a lot of it does come down to resources, but anyway,
Hmm.
now let's. I think we kind of covered that pretty well. What about parental rights? What do you think of abortion?
Oh, I do think that it is murder, but on the other hand, I know some people who have had abortions who really shouldn't have had children. So I don't even know what to say. I
I kinda agree with that. I mean, I definitely agree that it's murder, but like I say, tax is theft. I also think that sometimes tax is necessary.
and it's a very tragic thing to think about, but like I would never get myself into such a situation. I would never want anyone I know to get into such a situation. I would never want it to happen. But exactly, well, first of all, prohibition will never work for it. Uh, It will not work. And like I said, and then I get all, and I really do get this conflict in my mind when I think about, okay, but what if the baby is genetically defective? What if it's gonna live for 8 years and then it's gonna die horribly?
Yeah,
You know that,
I mean, I
like
wouldn't.
Pretoria, that Pretoria disease. I think it's when kids are born and they look old and they don't really
Oh, yeah,
grow. It's horrible.
that's pretty rare. That's very rare. But yeah,
It's
I
very
know.
rare, but I think it can be. I think it can be um, determined during certain weeks of pregnancy, and I think look, it is going to be murder, but I mean, 8 years of such life, it it really makes me. I don't know. It's a very touchy subject, I suppose, but
Yeah, I think it's murder, but I wouldn't. I still wouldn't feel comfortable, telling people what they can and can't do. But anyway, the reason I asked about it is for my next question. Have you heard of financial abortion?
oh yes, I support it.
Oh, okay. So well, that was quick.
Yeah, I do. Actually, what it was, I did get into an argument. This was one of those arguments that made me change my nickname from the genderless to the fully gendered.
Yeah, the female.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that was quick. You support it. I know
Yes, I do. I do
that's about
think
it.
that making women face the responsibility of their action is only going to benefit the society in the long run.
Well, yeah. I mean, giving people responsibilities does tend to benefit. Then they tend to be
Well,
just more
and
responsible.
I suppose someone is going to, if they watch this video and are not your fans, are going to comment, but what about the man's responsibility? But what about the legal rights? If we allow abortion for women, then we should certainly allow financial abortion. It is much less of an evil than abortion, as an
Yeah,
abortion.
I agree. That's one of the reasons I support it. But yeah, I've already spoken about it a couple of times, and so far I haven't had anyone mention that really. My videos don't really seem to get any hate. I got like a couple funny comments, but I know that they were about Islam. I know it was kind of weird. I think the guy was a troll. But anyway,
I actually
so
do like trolling some MGTOWs with Islam because funnily enough, I've got at least 3 to admit that they do think that Sharia would be a good idea for the West.
I don't. I mean, other than just being a libertarian and not liking Sharia, what one of the things with Sharia is I think it doesn't it kind of force men to take care of women.
Yeah, but they cannot. But they can beat them. So, I mean, some people probably think it's a fair trade.
I still don't want it. I'm okay without it.
I'm glad that you are. That's why I was pleasantly surprised that you were not like the MGTOWs I'm used to trolling. I mean, I do find them funny. I do find them hilarious. But
Oh
yeah.
wait. So I forgot to say I found Lady Bastard on my Discord server. She just popped up one day. Can't remember how. Maybe Moon invited or something.
It was Chris.
Who?
Chris.
Oh, Chris. Okay. So yeah. Oh yeah. And just in case you're wondering, yeah, got my own Discord server. It's pretty shit. Pretty dead most of the time. I mean,
Cancer.
feel free to join, but don't expect anything special. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. But so were you like trolling me the first time you came in?
Damn it, I don't remember. Probably.
I mean,
I'm not a good troll. I mean, I just see things to amuse myself. So.
I also can't remember that. I forgot. That's why I'm asking. But anyway, I guess we that was pretty quick. We cover that topic. Now, what about rape culture?
Not in the West.
Mm.
And even in Islamic countries, I've listened to Karen Strawn about this. Even she says that it's not permitted, though, with the exception of marital rape.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Actually, I would have to disagree with you on that one.
Mm.
In the West, I mean, I do think there's a rape culture in the West.
Prison rape culture.
I mean, yeah, actually that too. But my thing was more the way they treat, like the way rape with men is viewed.
How?
Well, kind of made a video about this a while back. But one of the things is that, I mean, I know you must have heard of this, but basically, like under the law, a woman can't even rape a man.
In Britain.
What?
Isn't it just in Britain?
No,
somewhere.
it's in
It's
quite.
not everywhere. I'm sure it's not everywhere.
It's not everywhere, but it's in quite a few other countries as well.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I suppose that is a problem. Yeah, to be addressed.
And
I'm not sure it's a culture though, but it is certainly
well, it
not
does.
as stigmatized as.
Yeah, I mean,
as
it
it
does
should
seem
be.
to be kind of a cultural thing, though. I mean, if you look at how like how it's viewed, like
Okay, then do you know any other culture where it is not viewed the same way as it is in the West?
No, what do you mean?
Well, if it is a cultural thing, then it should vary between cultures, shouldn't it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get that. So that's a good point because yeah, I don't know. I don't really know of any any other cultures where it may be actually viewed differently?
Like, I certainly doubt that other cultures are more merciful to men than
The
ours.
maybe rape culture isn't the best word, I guess, but
Yes,
you
it's
kind of get what I'm talking about, right?
a certain level of tolerance, right?
Yeah, so I just quickly brought up like rape laws on Wikipedia. I'm kind of scanning through it, but yeah, so like another country would be Ireland. One of, like, I mean, Ireland. It's like ridiculous to the lengths they went through to basically get it to be impossible for women to rape men in almost any way. Like they kind of uh they I think it's one of the countries I feature in the video I made, but it's like the way they describe it, and then they kind of added all sorts of sections just to and like they made it almost complicated just to kind of, as it would seem, just to get it so that basically men can't be raped by women. And
Yeah, I was
I
not
think
aware of that
I think in
in
Israel
Ireland.
it's also similar. Not sure. Anyway, yeah, I'm not gonna read it now. I already you can read it for yourself. I already posted it in. Already made a video about it before, but I mean you kind of get the point. And also like another thing with like you can see like female teachers and male students, like that doesn't seem to be viewed
Oh,
as
yeah.
much of a bad thing. And then I've also seen like male rape victims being forced to pay child support and that
Oh,
stuff.
yes, I've heard about that. Yes, I have.
Yeah, so I mean, there's I guess the way you said it, if it probably is the same in just about any culture. So maybe it's not. So it's I guess you can't call it a cultural thing, but you get what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. Yeah. I guess it comes down to the gender empathy gap.
Yeah, it would have to. So, and the gender empathy gap isn't really a cultural thing. It's it's a biological thing. So
Yeah.
what? Nah. I can't think of a name for it, but we get it. We get it. So another thing is this is, I just want to kind of get your opinion on this. But what do you think about? Do you think the West can be saved, or do you think it's too late?
I mean, it has to.
What?
It's not a question whether it can or cannot. It's we have to try.
But do you think it's gonna collapse first? I mean,
I mean, if it does, the sooner the better, given the demographics.
like like the way Rome collapsed, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I sure hope not. I mean, civilizations can survive longer than our current, frame of time, because the Chinese civilization is way older. The Egyptian civilization was older, so we could last at least a few more millennia. But we do need for the welfare state to collapse, for all these, equality garbage to be thrown
Yeah.
out of the window. Not meritocratic equality of opportunity, of course, that is the West, but this cult, this Marxist cult of equality, it must go. And I am afraid that what it will take is going to be a huge calamity. And I hope
That's
it's
what it
not too
seems
big.
like. Yeah, that definitely what
I
it
really hope it's not too big.
looks like. But I mean, I have yet to see a society that managed to somehow reverse reverse its state, reverse gynocentrism somehow. So I'm not particularly optimistic about it.
It's not about being optimistic or not. It's about not having another choice. Do you have any other society that you would want to live in other than the West?
Uh, not really. But if I had to, I'd go to like China or Russia. But I wouldn't.
Russia is part
Wouldn't
of
really
your.
want.
Russia
Yeah,
is part. European civilization.
I guess, but it's. I mean, like
And
I think Russia. I don't think Russia and China are going to be collapsing anytime soon.
but women do have the vote in Russia.
True, but
And they do
they also
have
seem to
some
have a strong.
socialism, and gosh, we do even have quite a bit of communist nostalgia.
True, but they also seem to have a strong leadership. I mean, that's probably going to
Yes,
help
they do
them
have
survive a little.
personality cult. Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying they're not going to collapse because pretty much any society that just gives women the vote, it's eventually, that's kind of like event horizon at that point, so it's going to eventually collapse. But I mean, like in my lifetime, I don't.
Not in your lifetime, but
But
I mean,
the West may collapse in my lifetime. I just don't think Russia and China will.
well, I'm not sure about this Russia thing, especially what with their southern border to the very same China.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd rather the West somehow be saved, but I'm not gonna, I'm not really gonna go out of my way to do anything about it. I don't. Like,
Yeah,
I don't really feel like helping a society that treats you like shit. I don't really feel like trying to save it in any way. It seems to be kind of like the kind of like the modern traditionalist mindset of just like sacrifice yourself for the women's, because now the migrants are coming, or sacrifice yourself for the women's, get married. I don't want to do that. I mean, if
I
you
suppose.
you created this mess, you can clean it up.
But you think the women will save society?
No,
You're kidding.
definitely not.
So you are. So that is my main criticism towards MGTOW. You are not helping. I mean, you're helping yourselves, I guess, to an extent.
Well,
Maybe not in the long run,
Yeah,
but
that's the point. I mean, that's the point of MGTOW is to help to kind of help the individual, and then to, I guess, to help other men on an individual basis. It's not to fix society. I mean, MGTOW pretty much openly say all the time that you can't really fix it or save it in any way.
well, if you're convincing more men to go MGTOW, then you are certainly even, I would say, contributing to the inevitable demise.
Well, I mean, to be contributing, wouldn't you have to like be voting socialist or something? You're more just like not doing. You're not contributing and you're not helping.
I guess. Though at this point, every helping hand counts. So
I mean, again, I guess, but it's. I still feel like kind of. You could look at it kind of like, well, the way I see it is like an abusive relationship. Like, like someone's abusive, and then like 2 weeks later, when they need you, they call you again and say, please help me, and I've changed, and that, and I'm not falling for it.
I guess that's an interesting analogy. I am not sure if it's entirely accurate.
I think that's the way most MGTOW see it. Not
Because-
necessarily my analogy, but something very similar.
Yeah, but it's entirely too collectivist in its nature. Like the seeds of this have been sown long ago, and not only by women, but by the men
True.
who allowed them the vote and the politicians who pandered to them.
True, but
For men.
fuck both of them.
And the women born today, they are not the ones who started it.
True, but I'm not only blaming them. I'm blaming both.
Yes, but I mean, it will take both to fix it, and I'm not willing to give up on these ideas that the West has produced. The ideas of capitalism, of freedom.
It's gonna come back. Capitalism isn't gonna die.
Is it? If the Western population gets decimated, if we lose the demographic war, if we become assimilated into another culture, it will not come back.
I kind of don't feel like capitalism's going to be gone forever. I feel like capitalism's pretty much like just the natural way of thing. You know, a meritocracy tends to be kind of
Well,
like
it will not be gone for our.
What?
In Europe, in Europe it won't be. Maybe Japan will keep it. Maybe South Korea.
No,
China,
but I
I'm not
mean,
sure, but-
I mean, eventually it's going to come back because the society can't run off communism or socialism. So eventually
But it
capitalism
won't be
is
the
going to
same
come back.
society.
It what?
It won't be the same society. It will not be the continuation of this society. It will be another society that we will not have anything to do with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously it'll be a different society, but I'm not loyal to a society just because it's my society. I'd be loyal to a society that's loyal to me.
Well, I guess that's the thing that comes down to nationalism versus your open borders, you Jew.
Oh God, you alt rights and then your Nazism.
I'm gonna send you some Hitler memes for sure.
I don't like Hitler. He was a socialist.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that always pissed me off about him.
They only think that he got wrong.
I'm not really that pissed off about like the killing 600 Jews thing. I don't really care about that.
100?
What? I mean, why did they say 600? 6 million?
They say 6 million.
Yeah,
It's
no, it's
disputed.
the thing that really gets to me was he was a socialist.
Glad you got your priorities straight.
Well, what difference does it make to me? You know he didn't try to kill me.
I guess that's because you have no tribal loyalty or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care about the tribe. I care about the people that care about me, tribal or no tribe.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit more of a tribalist in that sense.
Nah, I don't care for that. I'm loyal to the people that will be loyal to me.
Hmm.
It's kind of like, as I said, the whole abusive relationship thing I was talking about.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna go running back to an abusive relationship.
I see.
And anyway, another this is kind of like an interesting thing, but about MGTOW. You can even kind of see MGTOW and feminism and all that in animals, like
Can
in
you?
like bonobos. You know what bonobos are?
I'm going to have to Google that.
Okay, so I don't know if you're gonna find it on YouTube. They're probably just gonna
I'm
keep
just-
saying. Actually, Karen Strawn actually. If you can find either Karen Strawn made a video about it or my favorite TFM. Try looking up either a video that TFM made on bonobos or Karen Strawn.
Okay, so chimpanzee, that's the important thing. I
No,
cannot
but bonobos.
Okay.
Yeah, and probably a slightly better example would be, I mean, it would just be a lot easier to find, would be the Mouse Utopia experiment.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, so it's
But I'm not
basically
sure what you're
where,
talking about.
but both, both the bonobos and the like the mice, they both got like their own kind of welfare state. The mice ended up getting all the food they needed, and it was, everything was great for them, and it just ended up like really fucking up their society. The males and females weren't breeding. The females got very aggressive and started. I think they started eating their children and neglecting them. And then and like you even saw like basically MGTOW in the mice. They were called the beautiful ones, and they only like they didn't really bother like socializing or mating or anything, or like chasing after females. I think they were called the beautiful ones because they neglected the traditional male roles of like protector and all that, so they didn't get into any fights, so they didn't have any scars, so that's why they call them the beautiful ones. And they pretty much like only went out to get some food and like go back to, I don't know, wherever they lived. and I mean, it kind of shows that because the way I see feminism is pretty much female nature. So it kind of shows that you can find it even that it's not even limited to humans. It's just wherever there's males and females.
I mean, under certain circumstances.
Yeah, obviously you're gonna need the right you're gonna need the right conditions. If you have a meritocracy, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
It won't
So
happen. But you know,
I think it would be like some evolutionarily advantageous traits misfiring in an unnatural environment, just going rogue, I guess, or however you want to describe it.
sure, why not?
It's a
But
sort of, yeah.
the the thing I'm kind of getting at is that the MGTOWs in the Mouse Utopia experiment, they never really went back. Like they never reverted. I think they like when they were introduced to like a regular society, they never went back to like to like mating and to basically to not being MGTOW again.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing I'm noticing a lot is I think also a lot of I mean a lot of MGTOWs do want to get married and have kids, but also a lot of MGTOWs say that they'll even if the laws don't change, they'll never get married again. Like like
Yeah.
it's like it's too late now. That
Well, I
type
mean,
of thing.
personal choice. A personal choice.
So like it doesn't like it's something that isn't really reversible.
I mean, it does make me sad, because I am tribal, and that does mean that the society, at least the traditional ways, are going to likely disappear. But that does not mean that women are not going to reproduce. They're just going to reproduce with other men who are not going to be part of the same tribe.
Yeah, like in Europe, like
I mean,
like what's
not
going on
all
there.
European men are MGTOW. You're
What?
the minority. MGTOW is the minority, so it's not exactly the problem that there are no European men,
Yeah,
though
yeah,
there
I
are
get
more
it.
women than men in Europe. But
I get. I'm
it's
I'm
more.
talking about
Some are.
I'm talking about the migrants. Like
Yes, yes, I know, but
I
it's
know.
it's a bit of a different situation. It's not
Yeah.
exactly an equal analogy.
Yeah, I get it. I was just kind of giving an example of
Yeah.
like the men like the other men coming and getting the females. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I think Japan is like, I heard it's like
Yeah, I wanted
almost
to mention
like
Japan as
what
well.
is it like the guys there like 70%. It's not MGTOW. They call them herb what's it called,
Herbivores. Yeah.
herbivore. Yeah, okay. I heard it's like what 70%.
I actually have an article, but it's been so long I forgot.
I
No,
I
I
I
don't think I
mean
can.
I just saw it from a YouTube video that it sounds a little unbelievable, but I mean,
I don't know that
damn.
it's 70%. I don't know that it is
Yeah,
so
it
bad.
does sound a
But
bit
they are at
much.
least not importing anybody, so maybe something can change
Oh yeah,
there. I'm not
Japan.
giving up on Japan yet.
Japan is a great example of what I hear what I kind of use it to debunk people when they say that what they need is nationalism, like that's gonna fix everything, instead of like I say what's gonna fix things is getting rid of feminism, and they seem to
Well,
think that
they had.
nationalism will fix. But
But
Japan,
it's not so terrible because they had a huge boom in the 80s, I think, and yeah, I think it was the 80s that they had a huge baby boom where their population was really rapidly expanding. So now it's just going to be a natural decline in it. I'm still not giving up on Japan.
yeah, but I mean Japan is a perfect example of a nationalist feminist society.
Hmm.
So I
I
just,
suppose, but
well, I mean,
but
they are
to an
pretty
extent they
feminist.
are very traditionalist as well.
Yeah, but they're also very feminist. I mean, you got period leave. You got
Oh, really? Oh gosh.
you got
Oh gosh.
oh damn, what's it called? You got this one Migta, I really like him. He's like this Asian Migta. I can't remember his name. He likes to tell stories. He does a bunch of content as well, not just Migta, but he showed some statistics. I'll look it up, and it basically shows what like they asked Japanese women at work if they were sexually if they're like sexually assaulted. Oh no, sexually harassed, and about 33% of them said they were. And then they asked how were you harassed, and half of them said that they were harassed by someone making a comment about their weight, age, or appearance. So it's
Hmm.
like saying happy birthday is like, happy
Yeah.
birthday, you're 33, harassment. And then another like 25% of them said that they were harassed by being asked out on a date.
Wow.
So, pretty
Yeah.
feminist. And there, there,
Yeah.
there,
That
there are
doesn't
other
sound
things,
very good.
too. I'm sure I don't really study. I kind of stick to the Western America mostly. I don't really look
Mhm.
into Japan that much. So this is just kind of what I know. I don't, I don't know too
Yeah.
much
I
about
do
it.
not. I cannot say that I have looked a lot into Japan.
Also, there's like people tend to kind of separate feminism and traditionalism, but it's kind of one and the same. If like modern traditionalism.
Mm. As in second wave feminism.
Yeah, it's kind of like traditionalism after second wave feminism.
Mhm.
It's pretty much the same as third wave in a way. It's like it's instead of the government giving women the money, it's just the men giving them the money. But it's
Well, to an
one or
extent,
the other.
that's tradition. That's very traditional.
Yeah, but
But
they're not really getting something in return. I mean, they can just kind of do whatever they want. They're not really like the men of the house or anything.
yeah, well, that's what interests me. What do you mean, a man of the house? Like, how would you,
Well, if I
how
pay
would you, for example, describe a traditional society versus modern traditional family? I mean,
well, if I'm the one that pays for everything,
hmm
I'm the one that decides what pretty much what goes. So I'm kind of traditional, and I'm pretty
now you
kind
see
of
that
old.
is not exactly. At least I was looking into it quite a while ago, but that is not exactly how it used to work. I mean, men would decide most things that were had things to do with the outside, right? And the long term. So they would, of course, be politically uh, involved more than women, and they would make the long-term important decisions. But women used to make decisions all the time.
Oh yeah, I know that. I already know that they influence their men in voting,
And not
and
only that, like
in the
women
house
were
they got they pretty
like,
much got the say in the house.
yes, it was like a division of labor. Women did have a lot of power in the house. Funnily enough, I don't know how much it qualifies, but you even could say I have linguistic evidence for that, at least in my own language.
What do you
It
mean?
was not so that men. It's actually a very funny thing. All of our surnames are women's surnames. They, of course, come from men, but we do have these suffixes that indicate marital status of a woman. So, and it basically means how her power derives from the man, as well as so say the man's name is Ionitis. The woman's, his wife's name will be Ionitina. That means, well, you understand what that means. That indicates her marital status, and and the same things can be said up even not with surnames. Like if the duke would say is kunigaikštis, then the duchess, it's the same in English. It shows her power deriving from the man, so kunigaikština. The same things can even be said about professions like general, doctor, whatever. But in the house, there is no such word that would be derived from the man's power. So the master of the house is šeimininkas. The woman of the house is šeimininkė. There is no derivative suffix. And we even, if you think it's just one word, we actually have another word in another region, and it has no derivative suffix either. So, in my opinion, it kind of shows that a woman was her own mistress of the house. It was just a division of labor, sort of. So I do not buy that, you know, men would decide everything and women were chained to the kitchen.
Oh yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen any evidence for any of that, but I guess a better way to describe it would be have you ever seen like kind of this thing really gets to me. It just makes me pretty much like disgusted. I can't believe they actually do this, but it's like when like I think you see this in like a lot of TV shows, and like you can even see this in real life. But have you ever seen it when like a man is basically proud of his wife kind of bossing him around?
Oh, yuck! No. Ugh.
It's kind of
Get
like
that away from me.
okay, so it's kind of like that, or like when like when they're proud and like they're joking around of like pretty much their wives kind of like ruling over them and like telling them like if they're allowed to go out drinking with their friends and that, like, you know, that stuff.
Oh, that is well, that is not the correct definition of cuckoldry, but that does indeed make me want to use that word.
Yeah, well, it's I guess simp would be a kind of a better one. But yeah, actually, it does also remind me
And
of
it's
the
those weak men that from that same meme.
So that would be a bit closer to what the kind of like modern traditionalism. Another one would be like the with the current with the current marriage laws. With the current marriage laws, where basically the woman can just get a divorce and like leave with the cash and prizes.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be
it's
a bit
especially wrong in the US, right? I don't think that in every case, in every country, you basically get 50% no matter what, but yeah.
Yeah, I not in every country, but in the US it's pretty. It's kind of like that. But from what I understand, you know, that like they substitute one feminist law for another. There is no like better Western country. They all, you know, they've all got their feminist laws in one form or another.
Yeah.
So they pretty much substitute for it. I can't even like. How did we even get to this? How did we get to modern traditionalism?
I can't think of it. I'm very distracted today. I'm sorry. I'm not in my best form.
Nah, it's okay. You're doing fine. I'm just pretty tired. I think my throat's kind of drying up as usual. I sound like I smoke now. Do I? That kind of
maybe. I don't know.
what do you mean maybe?
I don't know.
Like, does my voice sound like more kind of like dry now?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I'm useless like that.
Okay, whatever. I'll just take that as a maybe.
Yeah. Now I can hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been told sometimes. Like I've been told sometimes like I can sound like a chain smoker sometimes. The nice thing
Fun
though is
times.
what? Nah, whatever. The nice thing though is that it does make me sound older. So that's good because a lot of the times I'll sound like I'm 16 or 15 or something. But I
Wow.
think now I don't sound like that. I hope. I don't know how old do I sound right now?
Gosh, you're asking me these questions that I find even harder to answer than the ones you asked before. You asked me about feminism.
Okay. Anyway, I mean, do you have any, I don't know, anything you want to share, any personal stories, and anything you wanna add maybe?
Uh, no. My brain is not working today.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm
So
sorry, cannot think of anything.
I guess this will be the last subject. Just kind of remembered it now.
Hmm.
But I saw an interesting video from TFM, and he spoke about male and female love, and I guess it kind of falls into gynocentrism. Not gonna like well like yeah, I guess like gynocentrism and the gender empathy gap, and like the whole thing we talked about with resources and all that. And he starts by explaining the chemicals and the hormones for love, and if for some reason there's someone that's watching this still thinks love comes from the heart, just like get out right now, go away. You're not welcome here. You're just an idiot. Love, chemicals in the brain, all that. I'm sure we all know it. I did actually speak to
Yeah.
someone once that I think she was like 16, that she really thought love comes from the heart. Like how do you think that? But anyway, that's irrelevant. Anyway, so I think it's what are those chemicals called as oxytocin. Oh right, yeah,
Oxytocin, yeah.
oxytocin and vasopressin, and they basically both men and women get
There's, yeah.
get oxytocin and vasopressin. It's just that they synergize differently. Like one, I think it's
Really?
no wait, I think oxytocin synergizes with estrogen, and vasopressin synergizes with testosterone, or maybe it's the other way around. I can't really remember.
Hmm.
And yeah, so anyway, and then he says that, well, basically female love is inherently selfish and male love is inherently sacrificial. And he kind of uses some examples, like the way men will show their love is like by doing stuff for the woman, like it could be presents, or I don't know. I know they'll write a
Hmm.
song or something, flowers, take her on a date, and they'll try a lot more. Who knows? And the way women show their love is just more by being there, just like by being in the presence of a man, and like receiving the gifts. So what do you think of that?
It's an interesting perspective, I guess, but it's not exactly love that you're describing. It's the courtship ritual.
Mhm.
So I would. It's not the same. So as for the chemicals, I have not seen the studies. I don't remember anything like that from my psychology lecture. Obviously, it was just very basic stuff, but
Oh, I would. I have no idea how those two chemicals synergizing differently, like what actual difference it would make. It would make some difference. But I don't know what difference it would make. I'm just saying that if you got two chemicals that synergize differently, there is going to be some difference. There's going to be a difference, and I guess.
yeah. Anyway, as we both are not familiar with the study, we can't really comment on that. But as for the courtship ritual, you have to understand that it makes sense because historically women would pay a much higher price for, um, you know, uh, the whole um, courtship gone wrong thing than men.
Well, yeah, especially if there's no birth control and they have to select the like the best mate and are you aware of the sexual marketplace?
Yes,
Like women would lose their sexual value
yes,
with the more
of course.
okay, see about that. So yeah, my thing was just more like if you agree with what he said or not. I mean the
Like I
reasons for
said,
it.
the courtship ritual is not the same as love, and I cannot comment on the love itself because I don't know the studies. But say, okay, if we take this courtship ritual, then men are sacrificing goods, but women are sacrificing a hell of a lot of their trust in her, in him. They're sacrificing their youth as well. Think about it. If you brought up the sexual market value and the wall, so obviously women's sexual value is much shorter lived than men's. So it is a sacrifice in a way.
True, but it's it is kind of different though.
It is
But
different, but it is not like I do not see it as one taking everything and the other one basically receiving everything. Sure, it is like that with resources, but there are other things than resources.
I mean I guess it's a matter of perspective, like the way you choose to look at it. Some people might choose to look at it as selfish. Some might look at it the way
I
you
knew
do.
it as an exchange of things that perhaps used to be of equal value. Not sure how it is now, but but yeah, it was an exchange.
Yeah, it's I guess it's how you look at it, how you view it, but yeah. I mean, you raised an interesting point there. I was just kind of curious to what your opinions were on it.
Yeah, I did not hear about this thing before.
I mean, I think that is everything. I don't. I mean, I'm sure. I always like after the interview. I always like remember something I didn't mention, but uh, I don't know. We seem to agree on most things, so can kind of guess
Hmm.
your. I can sort of guess what you'd say. I mean, do you have anything to add? Is there anything you want to talk about? I forgot.
Can't really think of anything.
Yeah, you said you're not too focused today.
I'm actually extremely scatterbrained today, more than usual. I mean, for me.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm kind of scatterbrained as well. Just not with interviews actually, but with everything else. So yeah,
I
I mean,
see.
I guess we're gonna end it here. If for some reason I remember something
Okay then.
really important, I can always just like edit it back in or something.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Anyway, thanks guys for watching, and hopefully see you next video. Bye. Okay, so anyway, yeah, you also wanted to talk about stay-at-home moms and why feminism is appealing, yeah?
Yes, because there's a certain toxicity that is mm, because women are more susceptible to social pressure than men. If you tell them that basically being a mom and being a wife is basically worthless and anybody can do it, and but being like a man basically and a career is all that you that determines your worth, then that does things to a female brain, and it does make them more feminist. I think it does push them towards feminism.
Yeah, it probably does that, but I mean I really don't notice that much hate towards what's it called, stay-at-home moms. Like I don't think the feminists really even bothered talking about it since second wave, maybe.
Oh, believe me, in women's circles, like women do have ways of, putting each other down.
Ah, well, I mean, I
And
guess that I'm not
yeah,
really in any women's circles, so I mean, you'd be the
yes,
expert here.
believe me, and I do think that, mm, to a certain extent, being just a mom is very looked down upon.
I mean, I guess I don't see it like I mean like I don't really see it anywhere in the media particularly like they're shaming stay-at-home mums because I
Mm,
haven't heard them talk about it in
Not
kind of
exactly
a while.
shaming, but oh, you could be doing so much more than this. You had so much potential. You should, be doing stuff, or what are you, a leech? Just leeching off your man. Actually, yes, I have encountered the woman that I told you before about. She did feel like she was leeching off, even though she was a pretty good mom and a wife. Yes, she felt that she was very, she should have contributed more
Yeah, I guess I mean
financially.
if I was in the same situation, I would definitely feel like a leech, but I think that's more like I mean that's more like a male versus female thing
Yes, but
on
she was doing
average.
great things in the family. And another thing, actually, at least I remember watching some series once, and it was some detective. Gosh, I don't remember very well, but some British detective anyway. And yeah, it was about students. It was there was a professor convincing a woman to get an abortion, basically, because she just has so much potential.
Well, at the
And
very least, that a man out there isn't going to be stuck paying child support, so that's something.
yeah, I guess.
That's something that a MGTOW would support women getting
Mm,
abortions. So I can't say I'm
yeah.
entirely I'm like I guess in favor of it, but for different reasons. And until there's parental what's it called, financial abortion.
Yeah, that is much better.
Yeah, actually, you kind of reminded me of another thing, but kind of real quick going back to the gender empathy gap. I'm curious if you
Mm.
noticed this as well, but I'm sure you must have seen like there's hundreds of videos that women make about why they're not feminists, right? Did you see any of them?
Quite a while ago. I haven't been watching these types of videos
Yeah, I
for.
have I haven't really
Yeah.
seen many skeptic videos in a while. Mostly video MGTOW or I don't know anime. But
Uh,
what did you notice like anything in common with their reasons? Something like did you notice something like something that kept popping up like their reasons why they're not feminists? Did you notice anything like kind of a theme?
Uh, I might be shooting in the dark, but I think it's because it is against their interests, because feminists basically tell them what to think, and yeah.
Okay, yeah, you kind of close. So I wanted to bring that up and kind of connect that to the gender empathy gap because
So,
some
yeah.
sorry no what were you gonna say?
No, I thought you wanted me to finish, but you do because
No
I
no
can't
no
talk today. Sorry.
it's no I mean it's better if you say I'd be interested if if you
No, so
can if you realize
yeah,
the
I
same thing.
guess I think I do. It's basically feminists are hijacking, their voices, their platforms, and so they realize that, and it's basically a self-defense against, you know, them representing, choosing to represent them without being elected, as opposed to, for the empathy for what feminism is doing to men. Is that what you meant?
I mean, with the last part, I think so. I, I think that's what I meant with the last part. But yeah, what I was gonna.
Maybe you should have asked what was lacking in those videos, right?
Yeah, I guess it's that too. But what I was kind of gonna say in regards to like their videos and the gender empathy gap is, I mean, other than the fact that they don't talk about first and second wave feminism, that's not really surprising or my point. It's that all their reasons seemed rather like narcissistic to me. They never mentioned most of them didn't really mention too much anything about like men's rights, MRA, that stuff. It mostly a lot of it seemed like because it makes me look bad, or because they shame me for being a mother, or because I want to be traditionalist, or you know, or that stuff. Like none of it seemed to be out of caring for men or anything. Was kind of more my point.
Well, I mean, it's hard to care for something abstract, isn't it? It's much easier to care about the men in your life. Um,
True. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a man. Like, if I was a woman, I don't know how I'd feel, but I definitely feel like, at least after watching a bunch of MGTOW, that I kind of care about men in general to a certain extent. I mean, more than I used to, and you know, definitely care about men's rights and that stuff.
well, yeah, and you certainly, end up noticing things. Maybe this is a bit of a change in the subject, but after I've learned most of this stuff, I see it everywhere now, and it is, to an extent, I think it is social programming. I'm not sure if by evil design or by simply pandering to women, but I will walk past these billboards, for example, and I remember one very well. It was, advertising washing machines or something, and a man will be put in this very submissive position, whereas, with legs closed and occupying as little space as possible, whereas a woman will be on the contrary, taking a very dominant position, occupying more space and stuff like that. And I've seen it since in many advertisements, and I think that, yeah, it does program. It is social programming, psychological brainwashing to a certain extent.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Or does that sound too much like Anita Sarkeesian to you?
well, I mean, there'd be something behind it. The more you see it, the more you think it's okay. That's
The more normal it becomes.
exactly. There's I heard something interesting that, one of the ways to convince people isn't actually to show them statistics. It's just to repeat the same thing over and over again. And it's actually a perfect example with feminism is that, like, the wage gap. You don't have to prove it. You just have to keep telling them that there is a wage gap. Or first wave feminism. Like, you don't actually have to show them anything. Like, like the skeptics, right? If you're gonna ask a skeptic for any studies on first wave feminism, and skeptics are supposed to be people that argue based off logic and facts, right? But I already had this conversation with a skeptic. I took like a couple screenshots. It's pretty hilarious, where they like asked me for links on what I said, and I give it to them. And then they told me that they don't owe, then I asked them for links on first wave feminism, and they said that I don't owe you any because it's just obvious. Like what I'm saying right now is just common sense. Like, well, what I said was also common sense. But I still had to give you links, and it was like, so like they believe that just because it was repeated, like they didn't have any proof. But people just kept repeating first wave feminism is good, it's good, it's good, it's good. So they just believed it.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, there's if not to sound too cancerous by using this word, there's a certain intersection between first wave feminism and stuff like the fall of Rome or the current migrant crisis, as in they are going to start giving out citizenships. They are already giving out EU citizenships to these so-called refugees. And if you keep, adding people who do not deserve the vote to people who can vote, gosh, how do I say this? If you give them suffrage or whatever, then it's the logical progression to this thing. So if women have not earned the vote, the right to vote, then why not these migrants?
Yeah, I already spoke about it a couple times where I actually saw some really interesting videos on YouTube comparing the fall of Rome to like the current fall of Europe,
Yes,
and it's very
yes.
interesting the similarities.
Actually, quite self-evident. Even I, before watching any videos, I thought it was very similar.
Yeah, I didn't really like study too much about Rome, so I didn't really know till I saw the videos. But once you see them, it's the similarities are quite remarkable.
Yeah, and think about it, right? The women gained more power, and then all these new citizens were basically, and then the citizenship was being given away like candy
Yeah,
to people who were not
yeah,
Romans, not
and
by any.
you got MGTOW out in
any.
in Rome basically, in the bachelor tax and no birth rate and that
Mhm.
stuff, and then migrants and it's like
Yeah.
when they say Rome was invaded by barbarians, they invited the barbarians in. Is more
Yeah,
like
and
it.
the economy was already collapsing in on itself, and the terrible welfare state that they had going on there, what with the grain and what with the breads and circuses. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they became like kind of socialist toward the end, didn't they? They
Yeah.
were like they had a welfare
I
state and all
mean,
that.
and part of the problem, of course, was the big plantation owners, and they had slaves, and their economy was basically it was they could not produce as much for their own population. They could not have. Because of the retarded tax system, also, small farmers, they could not survive, and then they could not even compete with Egypt. I mean, it's I can't remember this very well. I would need to brush up on it, but yeah,
Yeah,
there were many factors, not just
yeah.
barbarians.
And the thing that I wanted to ask you, but I forgot was, you said you are traditionalist.
Hmm.
So, and like, how would you define that? Like, what would you want to? I don't know. Like, it was basically like you'd want to like what get married and like your husband to work and you to stay home with the kids, like cook dinner. That is that it?
I mean, for the duration of their childhood, I mean,
Mhm.
after a few years, it would not be so necessary for me to stay at home, because after all, um, we have household appliances, and
Yeah.
it's not you don't have to spend so much time
Yeah. Cooking,
working
cleaning.
at home, thanks to the patriarchy. So no, I am a rather creative person, and I am working on a trade, so um, I would want to pursue that, but yeah.
Yes, I'm also pretty traditionalist. A lot of Migta tend to be traditionalist. I mean, a lot of Migta
Oh, it's
also.
not exactly a traditional to go to be to go your own way, is it?
No, I would be if
Mm-hmm.
if the laws weren't shit.
If the laws changed.
Yeah. Well, I actually I don't know about if if the laws change. I mean, if I was never exposed to it to begin with, because like remember what I said about MGTOW's never going back. So
Mhm.
like I was kind of thinking about it more and more, and like the more I thought about it, the more I kind of I don't know, just thought that I wasn't sure if I was even if the laws did change, I don't know if I'd ever ever want to
Yeah.
get married or any of that. But like
Well, I don't
if
know.
I was
Well, I guess it
never,
depends on everything.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like
if you want to have children,
no,
for me,
I
I
do,
do. So
I do. I mean, no,
you do want to have children.
yeah, I want to have a family, want to have kids, but I kind of feel like it's just been ruined.
So, hmm, feelings, I guess. I guess it comes down to feelings.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of it also like trust and that stuff. Like
Yeah, trust. I understand it.
it's
Yeah, it's
something.
we don't have the best gender relationships at the moment, do we?
Yeah, so something something that this really sticks in my mind. This one of the like, I guess one of his quotes that I won't forget is something something I can relate to with TFM, is that he said that basically since he was red pilled, and I'm talking about MGTOW red pill, not the like the watered down red pill that everyone else uses. I'm talking about like the
Oh, I'm much more red pilled than thou. To make that
yeah,
a
no,
t-shirt.
you are pretty red pilled. I'm talking about like the OG red pill, like
Mm-hmm.
MGTOW, that basically, like, since he was red pilled, that he he'll never like trust women, like he'll like even if the laws are right, and even like even if like he's married and all that, he'll always be suspicious.
Hmm.
Like there'll always be, and I feel like the same with me. There'll always be like something in the back of my mind, kind of. There'll always be a suspicion there. So that, like that's
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say about anything about that. I mean, it comes down to personal stuff.
yeah. I still I think that's kind of like the way with most MGTOW. I mean, that's probably the reason that as I said, like they don't tend to go back to the plantation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyway, no, what I was saying was, yeah, I'm also pretty traditionalist. I'm not into the whole strong women thing. I never got that. I mean,
Oh gosh, they're
even
ruining my favorite genre. I'm a huge fantasy nerd. And they're ruining it with all the strong women.
yeah, I was, I don't know, even before I knew like anything about, not even MGTOW, just like anti-feminism. I was never into that strong women thing. I'm more into
Yeah.
like, I'm quite the opposite. I'm more into like submissive women, not like
No,
fucking.
it's natural.
No, I get that, but like there's like, to a certain extent, I don't want to, because there's like that fucking cringy anime submissive one. So
No,
it's,
no, for me, I guess it's similar to an extent that I actually get really triggered. It's funny by super masculine women and by effeminate men.
yeah. So
It's
I'd
just a
be
thing with me.
I'd be more into the whole like the gender roles assigned by biology type thing.
Yeah, me too.
When
I guess
and
I just see these things and I subconsciously know that this is the decay of our civilization. This is what will bring us down.
yeah, true. I mean, in regards to what you said about work, I don't, if I got married, big if. I mean, nah,
Hmm.
it's not an if. It's more like in a different, in a parallel universe at this point.
Hmm.
I mean, I would definitely not want my wife to work. I would much
Ever?
rather. I mean, like as I said, I would not force anyone to do anything. This is just my preference. But no, I don't think I would want her to work ever. I mean,
That's so strange. I mean, sure, there are many other things that you could do without other than working, sure. But I mean, the kids are only going to need your attention for so long, and actually, you know, more than that, more than those years, excessive parental attention is actually quite damaging. So, and we do have household appliances. We do not need to, clean, do laundry by hand and whatnot all the time. And we do
Oh
have
no,
dishwashers.
I
So
agree with
what would you do?
I
It's
agree
not.
with all
It's
of
not.
that. It's just a preference. That's I wouldn't force anyone to
It's,
do
I'm just.
anything.
I'm just. No, I'm just curious. Really, what would she do?
Well, I
What
mean,
should she do?
I think the like
Okay.
what it comes from is I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Now this is probably like really,
Mhm.
no, you're not gonna expect to hear this from a MGTOW, so like don't tell other MGTOWs, they might get pissed off. But I kind of feel like well I mean
And you see, you're not
it's
tribal. How tribal is.
yeah anyway, well I think everyone's a little tribal to a certain extent. Goddamn
Mm-hmm.
ADD. Anyway, it is kind of within men to like want to provide and protect for women, like to want to want to make women happy, I guess. And I definitely feel that, like even though I'm pretty, I consider myself pretty as red pill as it gets almost, but I still feel that way, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't I don't know, sacrifice myself for marriage, but like a part of me still feels like that a lot. So that's probably the reason. That I just rather like provide for and protect and all and all that.
I suppose. Well, that's an interesting perspective. But like I say, it just raises a question: what would she do with her time? It actually, if she would have it too easy, like our modern, situation, our
Yeah, yeah.
it would make for her too easy, and she would become too lazy, and possibly.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe she could be like a content creator or something, or do some like work from home. But it's still
Yeah, working
like
from
it's
together.
I'd still just rather she like she not work. That's just my thing. That's my personal
Yeah,
preference.
sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
I won't tell any victims so that you don't get excommunicated.
it's going on YouTube anyway. But yeah, that's just my thing. It's just my
Mm-hmm.
personal preference. As I said, I wouldn't make anyone do anything. But I
I see.
mean, I also might not be with them in the first place if it wasn't like that. So who knows? Of course, it's all extremely theoretical since I don't. Yeah, I'm not getting married, so
Well,
it's just a theory. Just it's just a fantasy. It's not happening.
I see. Well, it's your choice. You may regret it or you may not.
I'm sure part of me will regret it, but I'll be pretty happy when I'm old and rich and like having sex with 20-year-olds while the other guys have got cucked and living in their cars and paying child support.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure a part of me will regret it, but it's not worth paying child support and alimony and that stuff. Or just being in like a cheaper to keep a marriage.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be. That does sound like hell. Yeah.
It's pretty much you gotta I don't know make the best out of a bad situation.
Hmm.
Anyway, what I mean, do you see yourself getting married?
Yeah, I do want to. Like
And
I
what?
said, I want kids. I want kids. Like
Oh,
that's
okay.
the thing.
What type of
Yeah.
man would you be into? Like, I'm assuming masculine also, right?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily the super alpha type. They can be unreliable and sort of a bit of even intimidating to an extent. I never got along well with the jock types, to explain it correctly. Uh, but yeah, there are these qualities that are typically masculine that I do find attractive, like courage and stability, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, wait, like stability. Well, you could say stability is, like providing. So, yeah.
Mm, no, to being able to trust him, stuff like that.
Oh, okay? You mean more that? Okay, okay, I get it. I get
Many
it.
things. It's just, I like the solid, stable, reliable type. Yeah. Not
Yeah,
so
yeah,
not the charming jock.
yeah. That's what they all say always. Oh, I just want a
No, it's
nice
true.
guy. I just want a
No,
nice guy. While they're
family.
like
No, look. The
surrounded
first, my first love
surrounded by
ever.
nice
He was
guys.
not. He was not an alpha. He was quite beta, except for a few qualities that he had. He was not an alpha. No, and he was not super handsome or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, like oh man, you're reminding me of the Big Bang Theory, like the attractive female bitching to the nice guy that there just aren't enough nice guys for her.
Oh, there are plenty of nice guys. You just have to find the right one.
Uh, like the nice guy with the big muscles and wallet. The,
Nah, not necessarily.
no, I think
Look, I'm telling you, I was head over heels for that guy. I'm still fucking part of me still can't forget him. And obviously, it was a very unrequited love. He did not know that, and I was super young. So yeah.
I think
But but
it's like a
but
combination.
he wasn't. He wasn't like this super. Uh, he's the super jockey type. No, he wasn't. Not at all.
I think it's like a combination. Like the thing women would be into most is a combination of like like a nice guy and a bad boy and all that stuff.
No, you see, the reason why I think they're attracted to these bad boys, other from some probably weird evolutionary reasons, is because arrogance is quite similar to confidence and being and courage, I guess, but it's not the same thing.
Well, it would show like alpha traits. That would be
Yeah,
why they're attracted to the bad boys. It would kind of
yeah.
portray masculine alpha traits. So that would be the reason.
Yeah, but they tend to be anyway. I actually I never got along with them. They look like assholes. They have this asshole written like over their forehead, or they're stupid as fuck. So
Hmm. Yeah, I think women are into like bad boys and nice guys, like a combination of the two. Like,
yeah, you obviously don't want a pushover. That's what I keep trying to tell, some guys who have been always told that, they will choose a nice guy and everything. So I try to tell them, no, don't be a pushover. A woman cannot love someone she cannot respect. And if you allow her to disrespect you, she will not be able to love you. It's just the way it works.
good advice there. Although I don't know. I mean, I still don't tend to take women's advice in dating.
So I should what tell you something. So if I told you something, you would choose the complete opposite.
Okay, so let
So
me
don't
in.
ever get get married.
let me in on let me in on one of your female secrets. I told you one. It's your turn.
Then, what? Like what? Sorry.
I mean,
what?
I don't know. We were talking about like the dating thing. So what? Like what? Give me one super sneaky special advice you got for me.
Yeah, make her work for it.
I already knew that one. Whatever. Anyway, last thing because I actually want to go. I've got work in 7 hours.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's later for you and for me.
It's 12. Well, it's 20 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to be at work at 7. Whatever. Anyway, hypergamy. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you think it's a thing or not?
It is.
Cool. That's it. That's all. That's it. I want to go to bed.
Okay. Good night.
Okay. Anyway, so this is. I'll do the outro again. Thanks, guys, for watching for the second time. Can you finish the outro? I'm too tired.
Bye.
Incredible.